atrocities have been hidden under justice.
They have.
And it's been very easy to write off. At King's Landing, if she had only gone after Cersei, then we would have a Targaryen sitting on the throne.
We would, yes, and
That's
we wouldn't have the outcome that we would have gone right back to the beginning of how it all started.
But when they decided to make Dany the absolute end all, in D&D it's called the BBEG, Big Bad Evil Guy.
Okay.
Once they decided to that, they had to remove the subtleties. She couldn't just go through and burn Cersei.
Okay, yeah.
So she goes mad because she's a Targaryen and then destroys the city, which is something that she said she's going to do the entire time.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as the whole series as a whole, are you guys happy with everything? I think that Game of Thrones as an entirely, this has got to be my favorite show. And it's hard to say that when Breaking Bad, I have watched that show, I want to say at least 5 times all the way through. Many times.
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say it's got to be close to my number one, and I'm very happy with everything that's happened. There's a lot of heartbreak and sorrow. It's like a Romeo and Juliet. It's a Shakespearean tale. It's very well written. I think that
it's very gripping.
It's very gripping. Yes,
you feel yourself getting sucked into it. You care about the characters. You care about the side characters.
Yeah.
And once you understand things, you care even more about the things that you didn't even know that you cared about in the first place.
I don't even know what I don't even know.
I don't even know why I care about this, but now I do.
Right.
You're
right.
Oh.
And then wait.
Oh.
And that happens very often through every season. I have got to say this is by far my favorite show, and that's saying a lot because I have Scrubs is my favorite show before that, and before that was even Breaking Bad and South Park. Those are all great shows for what they are. But this is my favorite. It's got action, it's got suspense, drama, comedy. The comedy is not dry either. It's good comedy, but you have to follow the comedy too.
Yes.
When we were talking about how Tyrion wasn't in the book, a lot of people would be upset about that, like I was, until you explained to me Tyrion was never that guy. So the comedy is for the people who understand Tyrion for who he is, and they understand the comedy behind it, where he's like, oh, okay, shows what I'm worth, but he's okay with that.
Right, he can just do what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as the show itself, I really like it because it's a fantastic adaptation of a novel series, right? Because up until now, really, all of our adaptations have been movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some of
this
them
is a very long movie.
Or some of them are 3 movies long. Some of them are 8 movies long. Looking at you, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But we don't really have, books these large fantasy novels and series being made into big budget shows.
Right. It took a lot for this one to even be pushed.
Right.
The guys who produced it and wrote it and stuff, D&D is their nicknames. What's their actual names?
D.B. Weiss and the other one.
Dan.
Something.
Those guys. They wanted to push this the entire time, and when you see the making of the series at the beginning, and you're seeing how young they look, and then you see last week when they did the making of, and you see how old and stressed they look. It's like they tried to make this series good for you guys, and half the internet hates it.
Fuck the internet.
How many people signed the change.org?
Wait, what does the
Last
hound
I heard
say?
it was 8,000.
What's the hound say?
What?
Fuck the king.
No, not fuck the king. What does he say about the cunts?
Oh, lots of cunts. Okay, so 1.155 million have signed the season 8 remake with competent writers.
Lots of cunts.
Lots of cunts. Lots of cunts is what you would call it. And I don't use that word lightly.
I don't. I use it as more of like, that's like the only time I think I've ever said, but it's only because of the humor of the Hound.
Yep.
Like,
So it's
just
over a
the way he
million.
says it.
Over a million people want it rewritten, and I gotta say,
Too bad.
you guys don't understand.
You know, I have to say BS.
Yeah, and that's
You're wrong. Fight me, bro.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong. That's all we really gotta say. Do you guys have anything else you want to say about the show before we
Yes, I've got one
head
more
out?
scene I wanted to touch on that was probably one of my favorite callback episodes of this last season, and actually of the series, which is the night before the long night, or not the night before, but like the
episode.
the episode before the long night, which is the fireplace scene.
That was a really good
That
scene.
was probably other than the next episode, which was like the actual battle, like just the scene.
Are you talking about Tormund drinking out of the horn?
Well, yes,
Well, and
but like
Podrick
just
singing and
everybody
the whole
like pretty much
atmosphere.
saying like
Oh,
this is
yeah, Podrick
probably
sang.
going to be the last night we're alive.
And
like
then how everyone deals with it differently.
yes, and how everybody is dealing with it differently. And I mean, I think out of every episode of Game of Thrones, that was the one where I could say I cried. And that was the fireplace scene, and then seeing Brienne get knighted by Jaime,
Oh
and like
yeah.
that was just I'm getting chills thinking
That was
about
where
it. Like,
where women cried.
I did, I
Yes.
cried.
Yes.
And then when they did the Podrick started singing the song, I was crying.
That
I
was
was just
really
like,
good.
man, that
I
was
mean,
just
I
this
am a
is.
sucker for singing.
I was like, he apparently like he. What was that thing we found out about him being a good like? Was that in the after?
Yeah, the recap that
Where
he
like,
actually does have a good voice.
singing voice. Like that
Yeah.
was him.
That's really him.
But that was just like that was a good humanizing scene. Like that was just very down to earth. Like this is how I'm gonna deal with this. You drink. I'm not gonna drink. We're gonna do this. Let's do whatever we wanted to do before we die.
I'm gonna
Like-
have terrible sex with Gendry.
Yes. Oh my. I
Yeah.
don't know if that was needed, but okay.
Yeah. Right.
Just
yeah.
like I don't think the sex scene with Brienne and Jaime really needed to happen, but it did. So
Do you have anything you want to touch on this, Rob? Last thoughts on Game of Thrones?
The only thing that I have is kind of like I mentioned earlier. I think it opens the doorway for other fantastic book series, like the Belgariad by David and Leigh Eddings,
Mhm.
or even like Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time.
None of these I've heard of.
They're one, why?
I'm
Two-
not a book reader.
okay.
he's an audiobook listener.
I do audios.
Yeah.
Actually, on my Audible, I have all 7. I have the entire Belgariad, which is, but it's a fantasy
Okay.
series.
It's okay.
fantasy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it opens up for some of these.
So we're gonna
these-
see a lot of clones. Is that what we're gonna see?
I think it will open up for a lot of these older fantasy novels or series that have been written. Because remember, Game of Thrones has been around forever.
Mhm.
Like he's been writing it for like what 20 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Like
yeah.
so we go back, like these books that were written in like the 80s and the 90s, I think that, and they have the clout, they have these fantastic stories. I think this is going to open the way that it doesn't necessarily have to be a movie anymore.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the Lord of the Rings. It can be even a mini series, depending on what it is. But
Right.
But that there is an audience there for that kind of storytelling to appear. So I'm super thankful for Game of Thrones in that aspect.
I think, well, Amazon purchased the rights to Lord of the Rings, and they're going to be doing a series there soon. I think that if the HBO needs to squeeze this next year out of talking about Game of Thrones as much as they can, because if the hype of Game of Thrones is gone, I know a lot of people are going to leave HBO. But they're also bringing in Watchmen and Chernobyl.
That looks amazing.
The Chernobyl's a miniseries. Watchmen is an actual series, and those are coming. Chernobyl's started coming out, and Watchmen comes out this fall. That was a good reason for us to keep our HBO subscription. But Game of Thrones as a whole may open my eyes to fantasy and the stories that they can tell. George R.R. Martin mainly told this story to give a middle finger to J.R.R. Tolkien, because he said he does not like the sappy movie like style that came out with Lord of the Rings. He did not like that. He didn't like how
Predictable.
lighthearted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, oh, everyone's happy fun times. You know,
Mhm.
oh, they went through this rough time, but by the power of friendship and will, we've gotten through.
Guess what main characters lived? All of them.
That is true. That would be one gripe that I do
You know
have
who's
with it.
you know who still died? Ned
Sean
Stark.
Bean.
That's true. He's gonna die and everything.
Sean Bean. We watched a YouTube video of Sean Bean talking about his characters and everything, and he's like, "Are there any characters where you've actually lived?" He's like, "Yeah, there were actually a couple." We had to think about it.
I think from now on, whenever we do like some sort of big budget like show or anything like that, Sean Bean should just show up for like a 10-minute cameo where he dies.
Where he dies.
Like he could just be like the bartender or something,
Mhm.
and then just get like shot with an arrow, or
No reason why.
Or his head chopped off.
right. It's like, and guest starring Sean Bean, and everyone's be like, oh my god, it's gonna be some great character. And he's like a stable boy, or
And he's dead.
and then he gets kicked in the forehead by a horse. You know, just
Kicked in the forehead.
yeah,
What a
just
way to
something-
go.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh
maybe
my
in the
God.
earlier season, like, you know, they're going to be doing this, like, prequel or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he's going to be disguised as, like, somebody's father or something, and they're going to kill him.
That'd be hilarious.
He's gonna be like a farmhand or something, you know,
Yeah.
just for
But
no
he's
reason.
going to be a disguise, be like, oh, did you know I played that farm guy that got kicked in the head by the horse?
You know, I bet we get a flash forward to him getting his head cut off.
Oh my gosh, it has to. Like, there's
Yeah.
got to be someone who's like, and I was in the, and I'm gonna go to King's Landing and live there, and it's gonna be peaceful. And then it's like, and Ned's getting his head chopped off today.
Yes.
Joffrey, he's a king now. Game of Thrones, great series. Alex and I picked up the series before season 3.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
picked it up. I started seeing memes of winter is coming and winter is coming. I started seeing it all over the internet, and I couldn't find out why people were so attached to this. And I was like, all right, Game of Thrones, it's got to be
It took
good.
Josh a lot for me to get into it, honestly, because I wasn't into this type of, like, fantasy.
You
I
like Lord of
guess.
the Rings,
Like, I liked it, but it wasn't like,
right?
Like, I was more, I think I like Harry Potter stuff more, like wizardy stuff.
But you did like fantasy in some sort.
Yeah. But it's just like, there was just, like, it's very difficult to get through the first couple episodes of season 1 because, like we said earlier, there's so many names and back history and, like, what the hell?
And they didn't even sugarcoat it.
Yeah, no, they don't. They just put you right into it. You're like, who is all this? What are they talking about? I don't get it. And then you just kind of just don't care about it, and you start focusing on the main story, and I think that's where you forget about the side characters and the backstory of everything. And then now that we're watching it again, it's like, oh, this and this and this. Oh, pause this. Let's talk about this real quick. Remember how
Right.
this pops up later on?
The
like
foreshadowing talked
100
about.
episodes later.
Yeah, like you were talking about with One Piece, where
Yeah.
there's like a 600 episode gap where they have a mention of one character beyond another, and it matters. Whereas this is the same thing. They talked about serving the house, the head of the house, his son, before killing him in a pie. Same thing happened to Frey. You know, talking about all the foreshadowing of I don't know. I can't think of anything else right now. This
You know
this
what other
show,
do you know what other show is very good with foreshadowing?
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Well, yes.
Our second favorite TV show.
Yes, Breaking Bad is one of my faves as well, too. Rob, it's been a pleasure having you on. We're going to do the plugs here. Game of Thrones, check it out if you haven't. I mean, if you went through this entire episode listening to us talk about it, you've gotten most of it spoiled for you.
Most of it, if not all of it.
Yeah, pretty much. We did skip a lot
How
of the
about
middle
this?
of the
How
series.
about this? If you haven't watched it through again, watch it again.
Yes.
That's what we'll say.
Do another watch through if you can. Watch through the entire series. We've been watching it, since season 3 came out, and then we started we rewatched it like right before season 8 started.
Yeah,
is when we started rewatching it, and it's been a blast, getting through it. But without further ado, guys, we're gonna do our plugs. Alex, I think you should plug your Twitch first.
So, hey, if you would like to watch me stream, game, chat with me while I'm gaming, I stream on Tuesdays, and I should start off saying Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. All different times. All of them are on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/cute_kitty, KUTEKITTI. Right now, I am playing some Borderlands 2. I'm playing Sea of Thieves. I'm playing Halo, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. We played a little GTA 5.
Yeah, we've been all over the
so,
place.
I mean, I would consider myself a variety streamer, but I really like looter shooter games. That's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the new Tomb Raider series. That's about it. So join me. I love chatting with everybody while I'm gaming.
Yep.
And you'll see Josh on there, and you also see Rob on there.
Yeah, well, hear us.
Hear them.
You might see me every now and then.
Yes.
Poke my head in. All right, guys, without further ado, it is time to plug it in. If you are listening to or watching us, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We are on over 15 different audio podcast apps, and our most notable places are Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Radio Public, to name a few. On those apps, you will find our back catalog of over 160 episodes of PTO, including our Aftercast episodes. If you are watching us on YouTube, we want to let you know that you are awesome, and thanks for sticking through the episode. We did lose connection to our internet more than halfway through, but we're waving to you right now. Thanks for joining us. If you want to check us out live on our actual podcast, we are live every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Tomorrow
Today. We will be on again.
Today.
Alex and I are doing two episodes within 24 hours.
I know, that's the first time ever. Podcast history.
We're going to be tired. So make sure you join us every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for everything that you do for our podcast, by the way. The likes, shares, the subscribes, everything that you do. If you didn't show that you liked listening or watching us, we wouldn't keep doing it. So we appreciate everything that you do for the show. If you want to follow us on our social media apps, we are on Facebook, which is facebook.com/PTOUnlimited. Instagram is PTOUnlimited_podcast. And we are on Twitter, which is @PTOUnlimited. You can catch us live on those apps at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday for our precast meeting, which is our pre-podcast meeting where you can join us on those social media apps, give us topics to talk about, and see what we already have planned for the show. So make sure you join us every Monday at 6 p.m. on our social media. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am @Lemke619.
I'm used to Brett saying his, which is Brett_wings.
Yep, that's Brett's.
And I am cute_kitty. Hey, Rob, what is your Twitch or Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
It's 2 a.m. here almost. We need to get off.
It's a late night.
Yes, it's a late night.
So if you want to see all my fun stuff on Twitter, you can follow me at @msquirtle, SQUIRDDLE.
All right, it's time we got out of here, guys. On a final note of Game of Thrones, watch the show. I think I want to read the books a little bit, do some audiobooks. It seems interesting enough to me.
Yeah, he's kind of convinced me to do some audiobooks.
Rob, it's been a pleasure having you on. We talked for over 2 hours and 15 minutes about Game of Thrones. This is our
You've been our longest guest.
Longest guest on the show.
Congratulations.
Thanks for joining us on YouTube. We're going to get out of here, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow for our episode, regular podcast, episode 161. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye.